Welcome back to Beyond Kicks podcast. Today we are joined by Seth Fowler. This is very exciting. One of our sponsors, Apothecary. This is the founder of it and one of the OG sneaker YouTubers as well. So I have a ton of questions for you. Start off, you guys just started a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
How's the initial thoughts with it? How you liking it? I know I was one of the first guests, so.
You were the first guest. You were the very first guest.
There you go.
Yeah, you were the first one, and it was off to a great start with you. So I'm really excited about that. I think it's gonna be fun. It's like one of those things that I always kind of wanted to do, and then actually doing it, I'm like, wow, we're gonna learn. Now it's gonna be fun to sort of have a podcast and promote the brand. But I think for me, the most exciting part is like getting to learn from other people. And that sounds corny and cheesy, but like genuinely, like even from you. I mean, not saying even from you personally, I learned so much. So it was like amazing, whether it was camera equipment, whether it was whatnot, whether it's how you got to where you are at now. I think just being able to hear that from different perspectives and in different fields is going to be really cool. And it's hopefully going to help me grow as a person, as a creator too. And hopefully everyone watching. So that's what I'm stoked about, probably more so than even just being like, yo, hopefully we'll get more eyes on our socks. So
Yeah, the podcast game, it's a slow burn. Seth and I have learned. Seth number one. We're going to go with Seth Eaton is Seth number one, just for everyone listening, because I'm gonna screw it up a bunch saying Seth and Seth and Seth. So, no, it's a slow burn. It's fun. We basically started just as a way to vent because he only can put out so much content, and
totally,
we have a lot of thoughts in the sneaker space, which we'll be getting your thoughts on some stuff coming up. But it's just like you can just chill and hang out, and it's fun to talk to new people and just build connections and hear about their stories. So.
Definitely. I'm just excited to see the direction you take it, dude. I was listening to the first 2 episodes last night because, of course, my boy was on it, so I had to check it out. But like the ChatGPT questions on the first episode, I was like, that's brilliant. That's fun. We need to use it more. It's one of those things like I don't really use ChatGPT for much. I need to probably start using it for like rough mock-ups of scripts or like photo ideas like XYZ, but using it for talking points, I was like, he gets it. He gets it, dude. But it was a good listen. I enjoy it.
Good. I'm really glad. The first episode was very rough, but Charlie's episode was good because Charlie's just great at just having a great personality and talking, so it made it easier. Like the first one was just me and Osman, and we were like, what are we doing here? I have no idea what's going on, but your episode was great.
That was our first episode too. We were just like, well, I guess we just make this an introduction episode and talk about who we are. Like, I have no idea. And then the second, we were like,
listen to that. It's probably real rough.
I know. I was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, I need to listen to at least like the first 2 or 3 just to get a
I'm gonna have to go back. I'm gonna have to listen to it.
I wouldn't recommend it, but if you want to.
Well, I mean, let's go back. Seth number 2. Let's go back to how you started collecting sneakers, how you got into YouTube. Then we'll kind of get into the building the brand and stuff like that. But give us a quick synopsis of kind of just how you started collecting shoes and then where the content started coming in. Because you're one of the OG YouTube guys that's been doing it for a while. You have over 1 million subs. Like you're the man.
Oh, thanks. That means a lot. It started, I think, as with sneakers, it was always like design and basketball that got me into it. Like not so much. I'm not really a fashionable guy. I mean, I know I have a fashion company, but I'm not really the guy who defines all the fashion for the company. Thank God. But I just always loved like watching my favorite players play in their shoes and what those shoes look like in the different colorways and things like that. So that was sort of how I got into sneakers a little bit. Then in high school, I worked at the Van store because I was big into music too. And I really loved, metal and Warped Tour and things like that. And I was like, dude, if I work at the Van store, I can get Warped Tour tickets, which I didn't get. But it was that sort of thing. And then just, that was my first introduction to really seeing more of the broader sense of sneakers and like seeing sort of what's out there besides just the Jordans and the Nikes and things like that. But then for YouTube, I think I started that possibly even before I was really into sneakers. I started that back in like right in 2005, 2006. Because before that, I was basically just reposting other people's contents on stupidvideos.com, trying to like, there was these incentives. If you hit a certain number of views, you could get like a free webcam or a Nintendo Wii or something like that. So I was really pushing hard there. And then YouTube came along and I'm like, dang, okay, I guess I'll try and create my own content. And it was just like how everyone's content is when 2006, I was how old? I was 14. So whatever, whatever content you make when you're 14, that's the kind of content I was putting out. And then it slowly started to progress into a little bit of tech reviews because I just bought a new Xbox 360 and I was like, this is sick.
Oh, yeah.
And then I went off to college in 2010. And from there, it just kind of died out a little bit. But then, working a full-time job in New York, I was buying a lot of sneakers and I was in New York. So I was at a place where I could find a lot of crazy sneakers. And so I was like, you know what? I'm watching a lot of sneaker content. That was the YouTube content that I was consuming the most at the time. And I was like, I think I can do this. And I think I can do a good job at this because I have a design background because I went to college for industrial design. So I can give a unique perspective on sneakers, which is interesting now seeing how that's progressed. And I guess we can talk about that later, but what you guys do and then what like Foot Doctor Zach does and what Rose Anvil does and sort of the different perspectives there, which none of this was around back when I'm not even the first wave of sneaker YouTube. I'm like the second or third wave, but like the first wave was people talking about their, like with these really crappy pixelated webcams talking about like, oh, I just grabbed this shoe. And then that was it. And then they're like, I'll go on the Nike Talk forum and talk about it. And then the second wave is like Nightwing and Tom Stefanic and Yo Anti and people like that. And then I guess the third wave would be like me and Blazendary and people like that who started in like 2015, 2016. And then now it's like there's just so many people who are way better than all of us at it because you guys are just better at everything. It's crazy. And then there's also people who are more knowledgeable. Like specifically, one person I watch a lot is Rose Anvil because he talks about like the leathers and how the different leather, like stuff that I don't really know. Like I know how they put the shoe together and I know the design of the shoe, but I don't know like what. I generally know what good leather quality is, but he cuts it open and I'm going on a tangent. That being said, I started the YouTube channel in 2016 because I was buying a lot of sneakers. And then I basically just kept pumping out videos after work when I was living in New York. And eventually the YouTube channel started making more money or around the same amount of money that I was making at my salary job in New York City as a dog toy designer at the time. And I got laid off and I was like, this is the time. Like I'm making the same amount that I was at work. Like, why would I not do this full time? And that's when it really started to explode. Cause I just hit 100,000 subscribers. I was riding high. The money was decent. And I was like, I've got to do this. And from there, over the next 4 years, it was just a slow burn, like consistently putting out content. And then I think end of 2022, I hit 1 million subscribers and I'm like, okay, cool. Like this is my career now. And that's sort of where it got to. But that's how the YouTube game came about. Yeah.
There you go.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So many little
dog toy designer. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I've been all. So with my degree, it was like I got a degree in industrial design, which essentially is any kind of 3D physical design. So a lot of industrial designers go to design firms where they design like phones or tables or chairs or whatever. My first internship was actually at Martha Stewart designing kitchenware. And then my second internship was at electronics firm. And then from there, I went to a kitchenware company, not Martha Stewart, but a different one in New York. And then after I left that one, I went to go to BarkBox, which is a dog toy company. And that was great. I really loved it. But I think I was focusing more on YouTube at the time than my actual work. And I think they didn't like that, which is totally fair. So I got the axe. But again, like I think it was the right thing to happen at the right time. So.
Well, I mean, that can lead into, your most viral content, 3D printed shoes.
Totally.
Long form and short form from what I'm looking at.
Totally.
And that was like, I know you were one of the first in the space. Now it's like, there's a lot of people like Zellerfeld is basically creating this culture of 3D printed. I have a pair of them right here. I got a review, but it's like 3D printed shoes are becoming more mainstream. We saw Adidas step into the space. And I know you, when I was at the studio, you guys are like, I saw the 3D printers. You were like one of the couple of years ago, it was like 3D printing your own shoes and stuff like that. So tell us, is that the background got you into that, or what kind of fueled that?
It was definitely that, because we did a lot of 3D print, like 3D printing back when I was in college in 2010. 3D printing was still pretty new. Like it had been around for probably a decade or more. But it was like starting to make its way into college campuses. There was like $100,000 3D printers there, and then you could finally start like buying DIY ones for like $2,000 or $3,000. So I never was able to own one until I actually was starting to work full time, probably 2015, 2016. And just having that design background, I was able to use CAD and actually create things in 3D and then print them. So that's sort of what led into that because I was already familiar with it. And I thought it would be a cool video. And in my head, I was like, I hope this goes viral. I hope this does well. And of course, the first one blew up, which is amazing. Like that never happens. When I think a video is going to do well, it never does well. And then I just rode that for like pretty much a year straight. People got sick of it. And then I kind of stopped because I'm like, this is a huge amount of work and the views aren't there anymore. So I need to go back to the content that people actually subscribe to me for. So, yeah.
That's wild. Before the 3D printing stuff, wasn't there a series you did a few years back where it was like designing a sneaker from scratch, and you like
totally
did the community engagement to sort of like poll how the sneaker looked overall? I forgot about that until right now. That series was so good, dude.
Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate that.
I was really into it, at least. But
I really appreciate that.
Like seeing you start something from scratch and have just the community help build it over time, I was like, this is it.
Man.
This is it.
That's so cool that you remember that, because like that's one that didn't really do incredibly well for me, but it was a really fun project, and I want to do more like that. That's sort of what I was trying to do with this new 3D printed shoe that we're working on with Zellerfeld. But the first video like just completely bombed. So I'm gonna put out the remaining videos, but like I'm not expecting a huge amount of people being like, yo, but we'll see what happens.
You never know.
You never know. It's really, I mean, you guys know, like it's the hype sneakers that get the views. So those are the ones that pay the bills. And then the fun projects like the 3D printed stuff, that's the stuff that I like to do and then put out here and there because it's going to bomb, but at least I can put it out and be creative about it. So
that's fair. Yeah. So that being said, hype sneakers get all the views. What are like some of your favorite pairs to unbox, review, and actually like talk about that you actually geek about, you know?
There's the Grails, like the breads behind you. Those ones were huge for me. I was excited about those. That's my favorite sneaker of all time. So anything that I've really either, for example, the Galaxy foams that just came out, like I waited in line for those in 2012 and didn't get them. Like that was a shoe that I really, really wanted. Same thing, like the shoes that I missed out on or the shoes that I always wanted, like coming up or growing up or whatever. Things like the Bread 11s in 2012, I couldn't grab those. I tried, but I couldn't. Even like the Legend Blues, like a bunch of in 2010, 2014, when I was in college, like all the shoes that dropped, I couldn't get any of them. So like that whole era, I'm just like, oh, I gotta grab them at some point. So those shoes are fun. And then there's the shoes that are like completely different and new. Like the first couple 3D printed shoes that I reviewed, I was really excited about just to test them out. The Zellerfeld Nike Air Max 1000s, I was really excited about. Anything that's different and like provides an experience, whether it's a comfort experience or just a visual experience, it's different than what I usually get. That's exciting. But when it's like a new Travis Scott or a new like regular Yeezy 350 back when those were dropping all the time, like that's just because I know that's what people want to see. Yeah. And it's not as exciting, but yeah, the fun ones. I mean, you guys probably feel this a similar way when it's something different, like it's something because you look at sneakers all the time. You know, it's nice to see something that you've never seen before, which doesn't happen a lot. So.
Truly. It's like, here's the 5th colorway of a Jordan 4 I've reviewed this year. Don't know what else to say about it. A little bit of a different color blocking, but backtracking a little bit, talking about like 2010 to like 2012, that era of just sneakers dropping all the time. Oh my God. Because I was in college too. I had just like Twitter notifications on for everything. So every time there was a restock or something dropped, I was like, I'm broke. I can't do this right now. Like, oh, this is so hard being in college and so many sneakers dropping, dude. Oh my God.
I know. And I was living in Philly, and like there's this big Facebook page called Buy Sell Fresh Kicks Philly, and you could look at all the resale. Like people were just buying and selling. Like Facebook Marketplace was huge back. I mean, it still sort of is, but not as much as it was. And I'd like I'd troll through there and be like, oh, dude, these like. What was the Nike Air Yeezy 2s? The Red Octobers dropped in 2012, and I was like, "Yo, someone's selling them for like $1,000. That's not terrible."
Yep.
But then, of course, I mean, I didn't have $1,000.
I remember when those dropped too. I got the notification in the cap.
Dude, I know.
And I was like,
out of nowhere.
I was like, I don't have $250 for this shoe.
I know. It was crazy. Oh my gosh. I remember that like it was yesterday. That was such a crazy day.
Everyone was freaking out, man.
It was after Kanye left Nike, like right after he left Nike too. So it's like, are they even going to drop these? Are these going to be exclusive? Like, what's the deal? Crazy.
What a time. What a time to be alive.
It was. Definitely.
Another popular series that you've done, and we talked about this when I was in Philly, really good evergreen content series is your top 10 series. You've done a bunch of them. Top 10 most comfortable shoes, top 10 New Balances of 2025, of 2024, top 10 ASICs. Give me the most comfortable shoe, because there's a common theme there.
It's tough.
Comfortable I think it depends. Shoes, ASICs, New Balances. Give me like top 3, because it's hard to like quantify. I get that question too, and it's like, oh, I don't really even like what's the number one, but like it like what's and maybe it could be one that you wear commonly too. It's in your day-to-day rotation.
I think if you're going for like the max cushion, it's probably It's probably the one that's top my list is the New Balance Exmore V5. But that's just because like out of all the shoes that I've tried, that just seems to be the softest. But I don't think comfort is the problem. Is it's so hard to do, like exactly what you're saying. It's so hard to quantify like what comfort is because everyone feels like comfort's a little bit different. Some people prefer firmer shoes. So overall softness, I guess it would be that one. But I'm sure there's shoes that I haven't tried that are softer, or maybe I just feel softness differently than other people. An everyday shoe, the shoe that I usually go back to is the Vomero 5s because they're not as soft as everything, but like they're just a great all around, just overall comfort experience for my feet. So like those are the ones I go back to.
They are good.
Yeah.
I can't argue that. On that same note of the series, I remember the first time I met you was probably like last year, maybe the year before that at the Zoomies pop-up at Lenox Mall. Yep. And after the event, we were sort of walking through the mall, and I don't know if you were just being nice or what, but you looked down and you were like, what shoes are those? And I was wearing the Kayano 14, the like plum pair. And I told you about them. I was gassing them up. I was like, dude, this is a general release colorway. You got to check these out. And then a month or so later, they ended up in one of the videos, and I was like, we got someone.
You were literally the reason I tried the Kayano 14s. Like they're great. I love them so much. It's great, man. I was like just starting to get into ASICs at the time, and I was trying to learn all the different models because it's like with Jordan, it's just like there's the 1, the 2, the 3, but with other brands, it's like you got to learn all these different names. So it's
let alone New Balance, the 991
I know. Yeah. Dude, bro, I still don't know half the names of New Balance. As much as I love the brand, I can't tell you what a 99. Well, I probably can actually, but like there's
there's too many. Anna's got down the 550. That's about the extent of her knowledge, and I'm like, hey, that's one that's
good. Could be worse. Yeah, my wife likes the 9060s, but I don't know if she knows what they're called. So
right,
comfort New Balance,
just the big bulky boys.
Exactly. Yep.
Whatever it is.
So are you more of a you sound like you're kind of from a collecting Jordans background. Is that like the majority of the collection, or is it more comfortable shoes that you wear? Because I feel like all of us have shifted a little bit in the last year and a half in content, where a lot of it's comfortable shoes and a lot of it's daily trainers and stuff like that. Yep. Is the Jordans the roots? Like, is that the all-time stuff?
Yeah, I think so. I think Jordans, and it's what I have the most of. I do have a lot of New Balances. I do have a lot of ASICs, but I try to, over the last like 2 or 3 years, I've been trying to cycle through my collection more because as much as I like having tons of sneakers, it just takes up too much space. And it's also like I can't even wear all of them. So I only keep the sneakers that I actually wear. So what I'll do is if there's a pair that I get in that I really like, I'll throw it on feet instantly because if I don't, I'm never going to wear it and then I'm just going to sell it. So I try to only wear shoes that I wear, or try to only keep shoes that I wear. And shoes that I only wear a few times I'll sell on like Whatnot or something. But it's really gotten to a point now where as much as I appreciate people with large collections, I think that's awesome. For me personally, it's just too much to maintain. And I'd rather just have shoes that I can wear, like, because no one comes over, like, it's not that people can't, but like no one comes over to my house to like look at my collection. So for me, it's like, if I'm not showing it off, then what's the point of having them if I'm not wearing them? So, and the ones that I don't wear, you see in the background of my videos, it's like the 85 ones, the off-white Chicago's, the Tokyo 5s, like, but that's it. Like every other pair I wear. And if I get more like when I had the Yeezy 1 Zens, I had them in the background videos, never wore them. Same thing with the Dior ones, like shoes that I would wear, but I also feel weird wearing an $8,000 pair of shoes. Like I'd love to. And I think maybe one day I would, but it's just like, it's tough, when there's other things in life that I'd rather have. And I could buy a pair of gray mids and they look exactly the same as the Dior's. So it's like, okay.
That's like, what situation are you going to wear those in?
Exactly. And then it's like when you buy a really expensive sports car, as soon as you drive it off the lot, you lose like thousands of dollars. Same thing with the Dior's. You literally going from new to used, you lose like $2,000. And it's like, that's crazy.
Well, it's if you have an event like, I don't know, you go to the Grammys or something, like something crazy. True. You can always buy a pair of shoes for
exactly. Yeah, if I'm going to the Grammys, I probably have something.
Like,
yeah, exactly. And the thing is too, like, I love the idea of subtle flexes. Like when you go to an event like the Grammys, only some people are going to know what you're wearing. So having a Dior is pretty cool. But also, like, I have pairs in my collection that are probably rarer than those, and they're just like, it's even more of a subtle flex. Although it's not as expensive as the Dior's, So.
True. But the people that recognize those, it's like, you get it. You get
That's
it.
True, exactly.
A little club.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, a interesting thing about you. So you've been doing content for almost 10 years now, 2016. you've also started a tech channel. You have a second channel reviewing tech, which I think is very interesting because Seth and I talk about, Seth number one and I talk about this all the time about branching off in content. It's very difficult to do once you've solidified yourself in one niche. Like if you're a golf YouTuber, you're known as the golf guy. If you're a sneaker, if you actually gain some sort of a following, like we'll always be the sneaker guys, regardless of if that's 10 years from now. Like people kind of mold what you are, and then that's your internet personality. So you've been successful. You have over 100,000 subs on your tech channel. Tell us, like, what was the motivation to start that? What got you into that? And then what's a challenge that you face with managing two completely different things?
I think that was just always like that. Like I was saying before, like when I first put out the Xbox 360 review, that's what I thought I really wanted to do on YouTube back in like 2000. I think it was 7 when I put that out. That video got 300,000 views back then, and I was like, this is crazy. And if I just kept doing that, maybe I would have been a big tech YouTuber. Maybe, probably not. But that was always something like it was sort of an unfinished thing that I really wanted to go and try. And I always just loved tech, and I was buying tech anyway. Same thing with sneakers. Like I always loved sneakers. I was always buying sneakers, and that at the time just seemed like the one that I wanted to go with. But I feel like as much as I think I'll always be the sneaker guy, like I'm kind of okay with that. And I think even if I just get into tech, it's more of like the way that I've come to view YouTube is rather than a passion project, it's a job that I'm really passionate about. You know what I mean? Like it's not like as much as I like streaming and doing things like that, and I probably would like to do that a bit more, I've kept it somewhat separated from my actual life so that it feels more like a job, which helps me deal with some of the burnout. Like, because after doing it for, a certain amount of years, you get sick of it. But if you think of it as your job, it's like, okay, well, I've got to put out this video on a Yeezy I don't really want to do. But at the same time, it's as much as I think it's a healthier mindset in some ways than maybe not a healthier. I think it's a healthy mindset is what I'm trying to say. I've sort of compartmentalized. I've sort of severanced the whole thing in my mind. And so with tech, it's just like another aspect of that. It's sort of like, okay, it's going to be another, in my head, my YouTube channel, or my YouTube job is like not just sneakers, but it's also like just the media across the board. So it's like sneakers, it's short form content, it's tech. So in that sense, it's like branching off in a different sort of aspect of the same business. And what's really helped me, the biggest problem I had was just putting out content, because it was so hard to edit 3 videos a week or 2 to 3 videos a week for the main channel and then a video a week for the tech channel. So what I've done is I've actually hired, you guys might know him, TA Vlogs or Tim Alvarez. I hired him as my full-time. Yeah, he's awesome. I hired him as my full-time editor.
I didn't know that was your editor. You just told me you hired an editor. I didn't know.
Yeah, he was my editor. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, we started working together like on a part-time basis in December, and then I did like a 3-month period just to see how like it all worked. And he's since gone on. Well, as of Saturday, he goes on full-time. So he's going to edit everything, which is such a huge help because like I want to increase the quality of videos. Like I told you when we were doing, before we filmed our podcast, like I just started scripting, and that's been such a huge thing. It helps Tim to edit, but it also helps me make better videos because I was just sitting there just spitballing about whatever the thing was. And with tech, you've got to know like tech specs and things. So that takes up so much more time. And then B-rolling everything takes up a lot of time. So now I'm able to, because before what it'd be is I'd spend like an hour or 2 filming, and then I'd spend like 3 to 4 hours editing. Now I can like spend 3 to 4 hours scripting and filming, probably more than that, and then send it off to Tim and he edits it. And then that gives me the freedom to work on more content for the tech channel. Cause it would just be it would get to a point where like, I just didn't have time to put out tech videos. So, and what's interesting about tech that doesn't really happen as much with sneakers is like the opportunity for virality or just more views is so much higher because there's so many more people viewing tech. Mm-hmm. Same thing with like cars or like finance. Whereas sneakers, it's like you can get relatively big, but you look at the biggest sneaker YouTubers and it's like Blazendary or Harrison Neville, and they've got like 2 million subscribers. Whereas the biggest tech YouTuber is MKBHD, and he's got 25 million, or maybe it's Mr. Who's the Boss, but they've got like in the 30s of millions. And then you look global. At car YouTubers.
Yeah, it's everyone uses tech. Everyone has a phone, so everyone's into tech. I mean, that's just
exactly
the reality of it. And that's tricky too with sneaker content too. It's a divide that I think of a lot when I'm posting videos is you can definitely key a video towards the sneaker audience, or you can key it towards the general public. That's like your series, top 10 most comfortable ASICs. Exactly. That's very geared to go viral. That's very geared, like anyone can watch this, understand it, make sense of it. But then like the Jordan 4 brick by bricks, which I know you just reviewed, like I don't think my mom's going to be watching that video, but like she might be watching like, oh, I want to get some new ASICs or whatever. So it's like there's in the sneaker space, you can like key video to get out of the sneaker space. Where tech, it's like, it's kind of like anyone would watch it if it's a new iPhone or an Xbox or something. Like it's everyone.
Yep, totally. And what's cool about that is that with sneakers, like it's all about, maybe it's not all about, but a lot of it's about the sort of the wider audience content like that, but also like trying to be maybe not the first person to the review, but having some unique aspect about your review that sort of differentiates it. But it's still like you're trying to review the top of the top stuff. Whereas with tech, all these tech reviewers, like 30 people are dropping a video on the new iPhone on the same day. So rather than doing that, rather than trying to beat them to that, which is what, like, with sneakers, I try and buy a sneaker as early as possible just so that I can be one of the first out. Whereas with tech, it's like, okay, I want to approach this from either, I want to review something that not many people are reviewing. Like I did a review on the Ray-Ban Meta glasses, which people weren't really doing full reviews on. That did really well because there wasn't a lot of people doing videos on it. Or like with an iPhone or a Samsung, because there's like 17 reviews dropping at once, like right when the embargo lifts, I'll wait and I'll use the phone for like a month and then put out a review, like a 1 month review. And that will actually draw in more people because there's people still searching for it. Whereas with like the Air Jordan 4 brick by brick, in a month, there's going to be 17 other sneaker releases. No one cares. So it's a different sort of release strategy and content strategy. And I'll be honest, it's less stressful because I don't have to like try and get a video out ASAP. And I hope as much, I do want to get to that point where I get invited to like those tech events, and sure, I probably will put out those kinds of videos. But like realistically, I think the views for tech, for someone who's not like a huge tech creator, is, you know, really trying to put out that content after the fact and giving the real, not that they're not giving genuine uses, but like actually using the thing for like a month and then talking about it. Whereas with sneakers, it's like, yo, the sneaker's red. You know, you got tell people it's red before anyone else can tell them it's red. You know what I mean? So
exactly. And I've listened to interviews with MKBHD, and he's like, the tech space, that's another problem with is there's so many people that make tech videos on short form and long form. And he's talked about how he might not be the very first. He'll be one of the first, but he's going to do it the way he does it in the best way that he can do it, which is what people tune in for from him. So it's a different space, a lot more congested. There's a lot more creators. That's something that take into account, but I'm curious to see where you take the tech channel. I'm excited too.
It's crazy too, because I could put out like a video on like a just any sort of tech thing, right? And like you can, I mean, a lot of times if it's not like a super popular thing. So what's interesting with tech is, not to keep like beating a dead horse, but what's interesting with tech is that like you can put out a video on a phone, and you can, even with no following, you can get a couple thousand views. Whereas with a sneaker, you put out a video on a sneaker, you'll get maybe, if you don't have any following, you'll get maybe 10 views, 5 views from your family. Yeah. But with tech, like there's always that search. So it's like, for me, my average viewership on my tech channel is like 10 to 20,000 views, without like, because the people, I think a lot of my subscribers on the tech channel either are people who subscribed years ago when I first promoted it on my sneaker channel and just don't watch anymore, or are people who have no idea that I do anything with sneakers. And these people like only watch the videos of the tech that they're interested in. So like the subscribers kind of are meaningless, at least from what I've learned from the tech channel. So like, for example, if I put out a video on my sneaker channel, you know, on a sneaker no one cares about, it'll get like 10, 20,000 views, but that's with 1 million something subscribers. Whereas a tech video, I'll put out a thing on, you know, the latest whatever, and like even with 100,000 subscribers who don't even watch, I'll get 10 to 20,000 views. So that just like, I think there's the potential to make an income and a living, and just having a channel, even if you're not the biggest tech guy, is so much easier than trying, like, because with sneakers you have to be one of the bigger sneaker guys to even make like a decent long form YouTube income. So it's interesting to see. I think I wouldn't say it's easier. Yes.
They have the deep pockets. Sneaker brands, it's like,
it
can get a little shaky, but
that's true. That's the thing with tech too. Like I can't buy $1,000 phone every week, so I end up returning a lot of phones after like that 30-day return period. After I use them for 30 days, I'm like, I'm sorry, man.
Hey, dude, you do what you got to do.
Exactly.
You do what you got to do. Back to the sneaker side of things, I feel like a lot of new creators get stuck in that bubble of like only wanting to review like the next hype sneaker, because that's like what they think is going to grow their page as much as possible. But like, speaking on searchability, if you're going to review a random pair of Hokas on clouds, like you want to focus on the things that are going to have searchability that
absolutely
your average Joe is looking for. I've had in the past, like, what's a good example? I think it was maybe like the New Balance 9060 or like one of those, like the 1000s. You just do a random review because you can find them on the shelf at any store. And those videos do sometimes doubled, tripled the viewership of like any Jordan 4. And I'm like,
100%.
If you want to grow your page, go for the shoes that people actually are looking for and can acquire. Like,
yep,
that's just how you should do it.
I mean, it's interesting. I just saw Steve Nato posted a video on the Nike. What's those foam clog things? They're Nike React X.
I just did a pair.
Yeah, and I didn't even know that they existed. And then it popped up in my thing. I'm like, this is 4.2 million views on this shoe that I didn't even know existed. Yeah. And it's like, that's crazy. Like the Jordan 1 breads that I reviewed, which are my favorite sneakers that should, in theory, be more popular, got max like 100, 200,000 views on a short that I made. And same on long form. Like they would never hit that level of virality, but it's exactly like you said, people are actually searching for that shoe, and not a lot of people are doing reviews on that. Like me, Tony D, Harrison Neville, like none of the people who have been in it for 10 years are even thinking about that shoe.
Yeah.
And it's like,
let alone the Crocs he does.
I know. And dude, oh my
15 million views. And I'm like,
it's crazy.
It's an accessible shoe. People want to know. Like
exactly. And people want to see the new Lightning McQueens. Like I get it. Like
exactly.
They do. We may not want to, but
exactly
people do. Sometimes you just got to put all bias aside because there is an audience for it. And if you're knowledgeable about the product, share the knowledge, educate some people. Value is key.
Totally.
So why not?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. How you can get out of the sneaker niche. He's very good at popping those viral off.
That's crazy. Like every time he'll pop up, and like, I mean, I've subscribed to him and I follow him, but like when it like really pops up at the top of my feed, I'll like look at the thing and I'm like, that's crazy how many views that has for that shoe. I'm like, what the heck? What am I doing?
Oh, that's spot on. Yeah, 100%.
But I think you guys, not to sort of go into shorts really quick, but like I think the new wave of shorts content is literally the move, because like we were talking about before the podcast, it's like people don't need to watch a 20-minute sneaker review anymore unless you're doing like maybe wear testing, because it's like if it's a new colorway, people will watch that, and I think that's the new wave. And then for long form, I think it's becoming more like deep dives on like maybe buying and selling sneakers, or doing, you know, there's other kinds of content that people are becoming more interested in because they're getting that sneaker review fix. So I feel like you guys are doing the right thing and killing it. And like, that's something that us like old timers, like gotta like get with, you know what I mean? Like we gotta figure it out.
I mean, likewise. I mean, I look at long form and I'm like, God, it's way easier to build a community and way easier to have returning viewers, and like, instead of just being like a news outlet of sense of sneaker releases, because you can go through a feed of any week when it's the Brick by Bricks or the Unions and see 10 different versions of exactly what I posted, and it's like, it's very drowning. But
yes,
I don't know, that's a creator game.
Totally.
But yeah, I mean, something that I do want to pivot to that you've done very successfully is come up with a product to sell. That's that's tough to do in the sneaker space, because there's not many things to do. And you started a sock brand, which is one of our sponsors, Apothecary. So I kind of want to hear where that idea came from. What was the inspiration for it? I mean, just what was the reason to start it, essentially, and kind of what was the first struggles you had with starting it? Because starting a brand and a business is a completely different thing than being a creator. I mean, it's similar business wise, but it's completely different. So I just kind of want to hear the start of that journey.
I think so like I said before, I went to school for industrial design, and I got really lucky to be in the program that I was in, because I ended up meeting my wife, but I also met the co-founder of my company, not the same person. So the co-founder of the company, his name is Osman, and he's also an industrial designer, and we both love sneakers. In fact, I would say that he's one of the reasons that I really jumped into sneakers as heavily as I did, because I was always into them, but like he was wearing like all the newest 11s to school or to college or whatever, and I'd be like, dang, like that's really like that's what I want. That's what I want to do. So him and I were both really into sneakers. I'll be completely honest, it was COVID. We were playing a lot of Fortnite at the time. We were talking on our voice chats. We're like, yo, we really want to come up with a product, something that we can make better than it already is. And we couldn't figure out exactly what we wanted to do. And then we're both like, why are we not doing a sock? Because socks are something that I feel like could be improved upon. We could create socks that go really well with sneakers. And with our industrial design backgrounds, we really can make them better. Like we really can spend the time and sample and make them better. So that's sort of what led into that. And then also kind of having like the fact that I had the social media following with sneakers, like it was kind of like a cheat code. It's like we already had a fan base to sort of pitch to. And we're not going to make garbage. Like, it's not going to be, because I've tried like Seth Fowler merch in the past and it bombed. Like, no one cared. But like creating a genuine product that we think is better than anything else, like that was really easy to just be like, listen, like this is something that we're making. I'm 50% of the company. I'm heavily involved in this. Like, this is, I really think you should try it. And so that sort of gave us this jumping off point. And we started out really with just socks. And the first couple drops, the first drop actually, we did I think we made like 400 or 500 pairs of like a couple different colors of socks. And I was like, listen, sign up for our newsletter, because we were trying to build a newsletter for the brand. If you sign up for the newsletter, we'll give you early access or whatever, like a day before. And all the socks sold out in early access the day before the drop. So we had to just drop with no product, which is cool. But I mean, it sucked for the people who were like, listen, I want to wait for this thing. They should sign up for the newsletter, but whatever. So from there, we're like, okay, we have something. And we started doing limited drops. And for the first like 2 years, it was both of our just like part-time side thing. And then last year, Os quit his job at Comcast because he was an industrial designer at Comcast, because that's like the big tech company in Philly. And because I think it's just a Philly company. So like, that's when you think of like a tech job in Philly, you're like, oh, Comcast, that's the one. So he quit his job there, and then he went full-time, and we had already hired a full-time shipping guy, Josh. And that's when it really started to pop, because we're like, okay, we've got someone full-time designing, and now we've since hired a graphic designer to do full-time design for us. And now it's really started to expand, because we're doing drops like every other week. We're really working on optimizing like ads and the website and email lists and things like that. So that's sort of how it grew. I think if we had sort of gone full-time sooner, it probably would have grown a little bit faster initially. But I think now we're on the right track. We took our time. We're being slowly building an audience. Same way I built the YouTube channel. Like, I'd never had one video that really went crazy viral, but it was that slow build that I think really created an audience that actually cared. And I think that's the same sort of thing we've done with the sock company. Like, we're creating an audience of people who like actually care about the product, who do give us like tips. Like, listen, like this sock pilled more than the other one. And we're like, okay, that makes sense, because we tried different material. We won't use that material again. Things like that. So we're genuinely trying to grassroots build a company. Like, we have no debt. Like, we're trying to build it up from the ground up and try and create something that maybe eventually one day we'll sell to like Stance or something, who knows, or we'll just keep it going. Like, we're just enjoying it. We're not like worried about, like I said, we don't have investors, we don't have debt, although we might eventually one day take on investors. So we're not worried about like trying to really kind of sell out to anyone. We want to create like just the best products out there. So that's sort of how it's grown.
Okay, so we got to stop for a second and talk about one of our sponsors, Apothecary.
If you're looking for literally the best socks on earth to pair with your favorite sneakers, then Apothecary has you covered.
From everyday basics to unique and fashionable designs, Apothecary really has something for everyone.
On top of that, they also have a great collection of apparel and accessories to pair with your socks.
Today, they just launched their brand new graffiti collection, and I can't lie, these are absolutely sick.
This is a new rendition of one of their more popular and beloved collections,
showcasing wild style and bubble designs with a bold color scheme.
These are truly the best socks to make a statement. If you want to pair them with a dope pair of shoes, black, red, these would go great with some Jordan 1 breads that just came out.
I'm going to be rocking this green pair with my Nigel Sylvester 4s.
We only rock Apothecary, and you should too. So go check out apothecary.com and use our brand new code BEYOND, BEYOND, for $5 off your first purchase.
And now, back to the podcast.
It's a great way to go about it. I mean, we're ingrained with you as a sponsor, but I mean, I've been rocking Apothecary socks for a long time. That was kind of that's how we're going about the podcast. Is we have our own brand deals, we have our own companies that we work with, but
that's awesome.
We've turned down a lot of different things with the podcast because we're like, we only want it to be stuff that we like, and we're actually gonna, because we got to talk about it. We're gonna be talking about it on every episode, like totally. And it's something like only socks I wear, and it's funny too because every time we record, it's not only the socks, but it's like we have either the sweats on, the hat, like, and it's like it's not planned ever, but we're doing the ad reads, and it's like, oh, that's like, I actually have the shirt on right now. Like, it's
that's awesome.
It's good stuff that's like actually like high quality. Like, it's something we like. That's why it's like I wanted to work with you guys, because we actually like it. So it's a testament to your hard work that you've done to re-engineer the sock. And I think you guys should dive more into that. I mean, industrial back, like something I honestly didn't even know that, like, you guys really went deep into the sampling. And I mean, that would be, you could do like a sample, like an industrial engineer drop. Like this is all the, like you know how they do like the Air Max blueprint.
I know.
You could do that for a sock.
I'm so mad we didn't film like a lot of that process because there was so much cool stuff going on, and I guess I could fake it for like not fake it, but like recreate it.
Yeah.
That's actually a great ad idea. I probably should try that.
I mean, I like re-engineered the sock. Like we made it better than everyone else, and we're like no investors. We're built from the ground up. Like there you go.
That would be interesting. I would love to know that. Like any consumer, like seeing any behind the scenes work of how the product is made, instantly gives you that deeper connection, and you want to support it. You want to be a part of it. So it's like, why not? Why not?
That's a great idea, guys.
Well, especially in a world of, I mean, people drop ship everything. So it's like, you actually took the time to actually build a product. People should know about that. So
totally. Yeah, and it's interesting seeing these companies that like are huge on social media because they make great content, but their products suck. I mean, I don't have anyone in mind, but like I've seen it before. Like, I don't know. Like I said, I really genuinely don't have anyone in mind, but like, you know who's killing it on product marketing? Friggin' LC Signs. Have you guys seen the reels for LC Signs?
Is that the Asian guy that has?
He puts up like a crazy video and then he reacts to it. He's like, check out our signs.
I was just showing my wife that the other night. They're the funniest videos ever, and he does like skits in them and stuff. Yeah, I was thinking, I'm like, I kind of want to get a sign, and
that's exactly what I was thinking.
LC Signs. Yeah, that's so
like
funny.
I've never thought about buying a sign, but now I want to buy a sign.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's spot on. That's funny.
And he can get away with it too because like the content he puts out is very edgy. But like I think in China you can't get canceled that easily. So I think it just makes sense. And then
plus like, it's on TikTok. It's kind of like
exactly
different the
younger generation seems to like get it a little bit more like in terms of like being willing to watch crazy.
It's very funny. It's very
he's great.
It's awesome. It's entertainment first, which is good.
Definitely.
What's like a day-to-day look for you? Because you have 2 YouTube channels, you have a family, like you have a business. Like what's the day-to-day? It sounds like it's very intensive. How do you balance everything?
I'm working on balancing it. Tim is a big part of that. I think moving forward, like that's going to help a lot. But it's what I'm trying to do is go into the Apothecary office once or twice a week. I go in every Tuesday now, but I would like to go in a little bit more. And then script write in the morning, film still in the morning, and then send it to Tim to edit, and then kind of work on everything else that I've got to do. And then hopefully because right now my schedule is 3 videos on the main channel, 2 to 3. It's mainly 3, but 2 to 3, and then 1 on the tech channel. So that would be like filming a video a day is kind of the goal. But it's tough because like, as you guys know, with sneakers, like there's not always new sneakers coming out. And then if you want to put out a video that's not like just on a new sneaker, it's like, okay, I got to try something different, and trying something different usually takes a couple days. So it's so I'm trying to be better at planning out the video schedule so that I can try and do work on multiple videos in one day, so that way, like if there is a longer video, I have, all that stuff ready to go. So that's a big part of it. Planning is a big thing. I have a huge procrastination problem, which I think I've gotten a lot better at, but I haven't, like over the last 5 years, I've finally gotten into a point where like I'm working constantly, but it's like I'm not planning as well as I should. And I think if I plan, I can sort of optimize every little bit. But then my big goal is to kind of be done by 5 or 6. Like when I started to work with Tim, like I got a lot better at it, but I'd really like to be like have a hard stop at 5 or 6 every day and just not even think about it. And that's sort of the main goal. So we'll see. I mean, that's I'm gonna make it happen. I just don't know exactly how yet, but
that makes sense though.
Yeah.
As far as running out of ideas for that 3rd video of the week, you should just record every time you go into the office, vlog it up,
we
show behind the scenes. Do it like
it just didn't hit for us because
do it like Minted has been doing it. Like it is hard, and it's hard to like build that audience. But since you already have an audience, like it's just
because everything you post is very polished. It's very professional. It's very, you could do like something super raw, like short form. I don't know, just iPhone. I mean, it doesn't even have to be edited.
That's advice I need to take too. It's when you're outside of the studio, the office, it's like, that's my time. I don't want to have to think about anything else. I don't want to be sitting here recording everything. Like it's hard to turn that on in your head, which I'm trying to get better at, but
totally. And I think that actually, because so to your point about the vlogging, we did try that a couple years ago, and the first couple ones did well when I was pushing it on my YouTube channel onto the Apothecary page, but then they slowly died out because we didn't really have a lot going on in terms of like everyday stuff. And I don't think I'm as good at capturing like realizing what the good moments are going to be. But now, because I got a second editor to do the podcast, maybe he could also do all the Apothecary stuff, like the Apothecary vlogs. So that might be something we reignite. And I was talking to, actually, before we started filming, Charley about this. Like, we're trying to decide if we want to create a YouTube channel just for the podcast, which Charley said we should, and I think that's the right move. So maybe what we can do is the vlogs will just be on Apothecary, and then the podcast will be on the podcast channel, and that could be like a whole different. It's more work, but I think it might be worth it.
Which you need to just hire someone to record.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Think about if you did the tech videos just on your regular YouTube video, it'd be like, it'd split your audience essentially.
Totally.
And that was
You're
something
right about
Seth and I talked about. Seth number one and I talked about a lot at the beginning was, all right, do we just post this on our own and then just like tag each other? And it's like,
right.
No, we started it. It's taken forever to build it up, but I'm very glad we did it because now we can just cross post everything on Instagram. It works really well. TikTok's kind of a background focus for us. And then YouTube, it's like we have 1,000 subs, but we have 1,000 people that tune in every week. So it's like,
Yep. And that's one thing that I think newer creators, like when we talked about earlier, how people, like when they just start out, one thing I think that a lot of people get is they get a little dismayed. Like when I first started, I got really dismayed. Like as in like I wasn't getting the views that I wanted, but exactly what you were saying about having 1,000 subscribers on just a podcast channel, those people are bought in. Like, so when you have 1,000 subscribers on your new channel, like they're bought in. I have 1.2 million subscribers and maybe 30,000 of them are bought in. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a more exciting time because you really have people that actually care. And I think that's a great perspective that you have, like about the podcast. Like they all listen. Whereas like when you guys hit 500,000, 1 million, like you're still gonna have a lot of people listening to the podcast, but like a lot of those people are just people who subscribed one time and just never watched again. So True. I think that's really cool. And I think that's not that it was sort of exactly related to what we were talking about, but that's just sort of a piece of, I guess, advice that I would give to
it's a good segue because one of the questions I have is what advice do you have for new creators or new business owners? We can kind of split it into two avenues because I mean it's something that a lot of people are just not super familiar with is starting a brand from scratch. And how do you get product photos done? How do you talk to factories and get manufacturing done? Like what advice do you have for new content creators or new business owners?
For content creators, it really is just not getting to, like, you really just have to pump out content and you really have to learn from the content that you pump out. You've got to see what works and what doesn't, and then do what works. And that's what's interesting about some of within the sneaker space, there's content creators like you guys who are killing it and have adapted your content in order to do what works. Then there's other content creators who look at like what we were doing in 2016 and are putting out videos like that. Nothing wrong with that. And I think that is a good perspective, but I think that there's like definitely they need to find that unique thing to sort of change up what they're doing a little bit. And again, there's no one like in particular in mind. And I think this is true for tech as well. It's really about finding your unique voice. And I think that's the most important thing. And then in terms of business, it's funny because you actually brought this up when we were doing our podcast, and I thought about it, and you're like, that's exactly right. Having that social media presence for the business is so important. Like our stock company would be nowhere if we didn't have some sort of social media presence. And so I think that starting what you suggested was to start a business and also start the social media presence at the exact same time. And I think that's such a great call. I think that's such a great call because it really does allow people to grow with the business, and you also are learning both at the same time. So I think that's what I would take your suggestion and flip it.
There you go. No, that's exactly what Seth number one said about Minted New York is like he's created. I can't think of it. It's something with an M. Marcus Million. He started just doing random running videos, and then he started Minted New York, and it's like your creator driven brands that are also, you can see the build, like you see those old photos like Jeff Bezos with Amazon spray paint on the wall, and you're like, you know how interesting it would be to have like a documentary of that and like go back and look at, because like when you're building a business, like with Blazendary at least, like there's no playbook on it, like a whatnot business, there's no like, there's hurdles we're jumping every day that it's like nobody's done this before. So it's like if you can document it, and I need to take this into effect with Blazendary more, but it's like if we can document it and basically show the challenges we have and do that with the people that are actually buying the product and supporting the brand, you feel a lot more connected to it. Another brand that's doing it really well is, have you ever heard of the company Work Louder, a keyboard company? They make
no, but I did get into keyboards recently, so I'm sure
you should look them up, because they it's a very interesting story. They post their story a bunch, but they basically like want to make their own keyboard, and they want to make it with a digital display on the side and
cool.
make it very mechanical. And they took like 2 years to make the molds. It was super expensive. The keyboards are like $400 to $500. They're really expensive. And they talk about that. They're like, this process is very expensive. Like, they are very upfront with it. And they talk about the whole process, the challenges of it. It's very interesting. So that's another brand that's like in the completely different space, the tech space with the keyboards, but it's like, I'm very tempted to buy one, because it's like, not only do you like feel connected to the brand, but it's like, and they're $400. Like, I don't need a $400 keyboard, but it's like cool Maybe to follow their journey and like what the challenges they've had. So it's like, I don't know.
That's so cool too, because it's the same thing. You see the brand from the very beginning, and then by the time the product is ready, you're like so bought in.
Totally.
You've seen the creation process over the past year or 2 years, and you're like, it's finally time. Let's go. $400, whatever. Let's do it.
Yeah. I think that's a really, really great idea. I think that's, and it's interesting too, because if you look at like creator brands from like 10 years ago, that people thought they were corny and stupid, but it's because like you had gamers trying to create like, I don't know, I can't think of a specific brand, but like you had gamers trying to create things that they had no business creating. But now you have like these small time people who are really good at whatever it is that they're doing, and they're also making content. Not saying that there's anything wrong with the brands, but like there was definitely a stigma around creator brands. Now it's like, it's like, look at Hidden. Like Hidden was basically a creator, a mood board person, and then he made this awesome sock, and then it expanded into this huge business, and he's now one of the bigger streetwear brands. Like True. It's gotten to a point now where like it's legit. It's like it's a serious thing, and I'm sure there's other people like.
I mean, just Mr. Beast laid the foundation for it. I mean, him and Feastables, and then it's like that trickle down effect of niching more, and then it's like, all right, now we're to Hidden, which mood board. Now they have their own ASICS collab. Like
totally, and it's sick. Like I really like what Hidden's doing a lot. It's sick. Yeah.
I actually got to meet the man himself at Complex. So he's gonna be a guest on the podcast at some point. He's actually moving this week. So
I did see his Instagram story. He's like, if you send me stuff, I'm moving.
Yep. He'll be in Texas now. So
that's awesome. I would love to know who he is. I've messaged him a couple times on Instagram, but it's not like I didn't send it. Like I didn't ask.
You need to get connected. I can connect you. But we talked about it at Complex, and he's like, I've actually done a podcast like long time ago, and I was like, we can do like an anonymous thing, like have that's like
sick.
Whole like, so we're hopefully hashing it out to make it happen this year. So, but yeah,
it's interesting. What do you think? Do you think that his hidden persona is a huge part of the brand, or do you think that he could sort of just show himself like face reveal and the brand would still be as big as it is? Like, how much do you think that actually has created what he is? Like, how big of a deal do you think that is?
I think it's everything. I think that there's so many creators that are like, it as superficial as the world is, like you look at, like I look at Elliot Page and I'm like, this dude is built, like he's in great shape, like
he is built.
His brother's in content, like they got 10 million, like he's huge. It's like you get that trickle effect. Like I'm like, they got it made. They're in the UK, like they don't have to deal with like the US and like politics here, and it's like they're like worldwide and they deal with so many different, like go to SneakerCon London, it's just so different. So it's like,
right,
as superficial as the world is, I think like you have Hidden and it's just a vibe, and that's it. And there's no like looking at the person or looking at the people running it, and it's like drawing conclusions or like, oh, I don't really like this or I don't like that. It's like, that's just the way the world is. It sucks, but it's like it is, and there isn't any of that with Hidden, and it's just like vibes, and it's just like I really like the documentary posts or like random info from like 40 years ago or some like interesting thing, and then you just get like the random posts as well, and it's just like you put that into a streetwear brand, which is like vibes. You buy it off vibes, and it's like I think it just works. I think the anonymous factor is huge, honestly.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's literally the word, because me and Osman talk about it here and there, because we're also fans of Hidden, and like it really is. That's literally the word we use to describe it. Like I don't use the word vibey much, but like with Hidden, it's like he's vibey.
That's it. Yeah, it's just like it's just cool, and everyone knows it's cool. It's like
exactly
that's that. There's no, and it's like it's like a giant like Supreme. Like I don't think of any or Stussy. Like there's founders and stuff, but I don't think of like them. I think of the brand and what the brand represents, and it's like bigger than just being a creator. So it's like
totally,
I don't know.
Totally,
we're getting deep here.
Yeah,
exactly.
Worry about.
Yeah.
Like
that's what we got to bank on.
So many of his little accessories recently, every drop, because I'm just like, this is cool, and it helps like just vibe out the place, you know.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
So what? Let's look forward now. What's a goal that you have for the next year? Whether that's business, tech channel, your own channel, family related, and then even 3 years out. Like what? Because content, it's business, it's all changing very quickly. So like, what are goals you have coming up?
For content, I think it is just sort of making everything more efficient and just being able to really enjoy like the creative process. Not that I'm not enjoying it now, but like if I make everything more efficient, then I can really spend time being more creative. So that's a big part of it. Like I said, like finishing at 5, that's really important to me family wise. And then for Apothecary, I think we're in a really transitional phase where it's like we're going to start hiring more people. We're going to start, like I said, possibly looking for investors, things like that, so that we can really try and explode in the next year, because we've built the groundwork. We've got a really good foundation. I think now it's time to like really try and pop off. And it's trying to figure out how to do that is the hardest part. So that's going to be the focus this year. Hopefully it works out. And then the next 3 years, I think the same thing. Like hopefully we're continuing to grow the business. Hopefully it's like gotten a little bit larger. I'd really like to make Apothecary like my 50-50 focus. So like right now I'd say it's like 25% because we've got full-time people working on it. I'd really like to focus more on it. But just trying to figure out that balance between like YouTube and everything. I'd like to make less sneaker videos so that I could really make like 2 really good sneaker videos a week versus 3 good videos a week. But I think it's trying to figure out the way to balance that so that the audience, because I feel like with sneaker videos, obviously quality is a big part of it, but I do think that it's also like just like quantity, because there's so many sneakers coming out. I think that's part of it too. So I'm trying to figure out that balance, because then you got people like Rami who puts out like 1 video a week and gets like 500,000 views just because people are like waiting for it. So it's like trying to figure out how to do that. I think just that's the goal. Without like being in his niche of buying and selling sneakers. Like, how do I get 400,000 views per video, 1 million views per video, you know, in this niche is something I've been trying to figure out for a decade at this point. So we'll see if that ever happens.
It's tough. Yeah. I mean, it's tough to especially scale it down when there's so many things coming out, and and it's literally like you said, if you don't review it, like one, I was just thinking about the Jeff Staple Brooks collab.
Oh, I love
that dropped last night. I thought I saw, and I was like, I really want to get this, but spend $180, wait a week to get it in, and then review it. Like we're already on to the next thing. Like it's so tough to stay. Like this stack right here, like third of the stuff is aged out. Like I'm trying to fit it in still. Like it's because you just can't catch up. Like especially short form, it's like you can put out a bunch of them, but it's like it's tougher. So there's just so many things dropping, and then it's finding what people are actually interested in. Like the React X foam shoes, like
I know,
super viral like that. I don't know. It's a weird game.
Right. The Pegasus Premium too. Like I would have put in a lot more effort into getting those if I had known that they were going to be 230,000 view sneakers. Like I had no idea, and I bought them. I've been wearing them for the last like 2 weeks. I really like them, but now it's probably
same. That's my gym shoe right now. I love them.
I love it. They're amazing. But like it's like, do I put out a video now when it's probably not worth it? Like I don't know, because it's like you put in 8 hours to a video, and then it's like, okay, you get 20,000 views. You know, it's probably. You know,
but you could say I wore the sneaker for a week straight.
That was actually my thought. That was actually my plan.
I've been wearing them for a month. Like
that was genuinely my plan. But the problem is for me, like I want to film like a lot of B-roll of me running it and stuff. And I keep like, for example, today, like I have 1 video with my editor right now, and I want to put out a video today. And I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe I'll do the Pegasus video today. But then it's like, okay, well, I didn't film any of this B-roll over the last week. Like now I'm going to either put out a video that's not as good as it could be, or I've got to go for a run for the next hour and waste like, an hour.
Change outfits every little.
Yeah, exactly. I've done that before. I've done that a lot.
We've all been there. That's me right now, because I'm editing a video for the Converse trip I was on, and like near the end of the video, I'm like, I wore this sneaker for like the entire weekend. I have 1 shot of me wearing them, and I'm like, I probably should have just recorded me everywhere I went, but no, I wasn't thinking about that. I was getting everything else. So,
did you get the Shays, or the new Shays?
The Louis Lopez Pro 2, his skateboarding shoe.
Sick. That's awesome.
Yeah, those new Shays. I'm
very
hyped.
shiny.
Very nice.
Oh,
very
that's
nice.
Camera is.
I like those. I like those better than what are the Nike ones that just came out that were metallic? The indoor soccer ones with the 90 on
The
them?
Total 90.
Yeah. I like those.
Same
those
vibe.
are way better.
But I mean, they're built for skateboarding, so super cushioned insole, good
awesome.
material. Wore them all weekend. Love them. And now I'm like, should have got more B-roll. Awesome. Every time, man.
Well, hey, I'll let's wrap it up here. I'll give you one question, unless Seth number one, you have anything else? I'm curious what sneaker drops you're excited for. If you give us like a couple things that like, because it's like the year of the retro. Like there's other stuff coming out, but like, is there anything that's like I'm waiting for that, or is it like something that's already dropped this year that you've like really were looking forward to, or what's the thought on that?
I mean, the big ones for me this year were the Breads and the Galaxies, but I think moving forward, like it's the SB4s because I had those for a review and then I sold them and I'm like, why did I sell these? It's the White Cement 4s, which I actually do have a pair of, but it's not exactly my size, so I'd like to get a pair of my size.
What size is that?
Size 10. Are you size 10?
No, I'm a size 11. That's my like sneaker of the year. I've been waiting for that one.
Oh, I'm stoked
for a while.
It's not. I mean, it looks exactly like the 2016 pair, but it's sick. I think one that you actually brought up in when you came through for the podcast was the Adidas, the Pharrell Adidas ones. You guys remember what those are called? The
jellyfish.
Jellyfish.
Yeah.
I was gonna call them the octopus. The jellyfish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those. I'm sure there's more, but like those are the top of mind. I mean, they're big. Like everyone's looking forward to those. I think there's nothing like. I guess like the Salehis that are supposed to drop today or tomorrow, I'm excited about. I didn't grab them, so I'm sure I'm just gonna pay resale for them. But those would be cool. So
the purple pair,
yes. Oh, you know what? One pair that I'm really excited about is the Vomero Plus. Whenever that drops, the one that's supposed to replace the Invincible Run, I'm really excited about that. Yeah, that's a pair that I it's so hard to get like Nike sneakers that are just running sneakers early unless you buy them from like somewhere on eBay. Usually it's China, and I think they're usually legit, or like, which hasn't happened to me in a while, but like Nike sending me them, which actually Nike's never sent me anything. It's just Jordan Brand, and even then, like it's very rare. So I probably won't get them until way after they come out.
Yeah. No, the running shoes. There's no like resale market with them unless it's like after the fact, and so there's no like leakers. Yeah, there's nothing early.
Yep. But
what do you think about those the recent Chicago 85 leaks?
I think I just literally this morning I saw someone's thumbnail. It might have been Elliot Page's thumbnail, like just them just and I was like, what? I didn't even know they were coming. That actually reminds me, the UNC ones I'm excited about too, but I didn't know about the 85s. And even then, like I just saw a thumbnail. So what's the deal? Like, are they coming out?
I saw a post like 2 days ago. I think it was right after we recorded our podcast 2 days ago. Because every time we record the podcast, 30 minutes later, it's like, boom, here's the big news. And it's like, well, I guess we'll save that for next week.
It was literally I logged off and then I got an update from one of the groups I'm in, and it was like, these just leaked. And it was just, from what I understand, it was, I don't know the guy's name, but it was a guy on Instagram posted, he was at the Nike like headquarters, and one of the story photos that he had was that. And then like 20 minutes later, he deleted it, and like definitely shouldn't have had that out. But I've heard rumors that it's next year's like early year February release, which
that makes sense.
That would like break the internet.
That's what he was saying. So I'm like, I trust him because he's locked in with all the Nike people. So I'm like, we'll see, But that just excites me.
Me too.
Because they also did like the Game Royal, the lows in the exact same 85 shape too. Do you think that's just going to be moving forward? We're using that mold.
Maybe. I don't know. I like it better, to be honest with you. It's more expensive, but I do like the leather feels. The leather is stiffer, but I think it's better quality, and like I just like the look of them better, and they wear better over time. They're less comfortable than a regular one, but they do wear better.
Once you break,
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I wore my pair to, I went to SneakerCon Saudi Arabia, and I was there for a week, and I wore it the entire time. And I made the mistake of switching out insoles, and I switched out to this insole that was a lot thicker than my regular one. So my toe was right up against the crease. That was a mistake. So that really hurt. But then I took out the insoles for like the last 4 days of the trip and just was wearing them without insoles, and they were more comfortable than I expected. So I think for maybe the OG releases, they might try and do 85. I mean, I hope so. Because I like the 85 cuts for the OGs. For newer Jordan ones, I don't care as much, but for the older ones,
It's like sort of soured OG releases for me now, because like I was really excited for the UNCs, and now I'm like, do I even really want that? Like, not the right shape. I don't know. Now I just feel like a bougie with it. It's ridiculous, man.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
hey, what are you guys looking forward to?
White Cements. That's I've been waiting for that. I got into sneakers like 2017, 2018, really, when I went to college, and it was like 2016. The White Cement pair was like new pairs were like $400 or $500, and at that time it was like I was really fresh to it, so I was not buying super expensive shoes. And then I always wanted a fresh pair because I thought they looked so good, and I just kind of waited, and I'm like, all right, now we're 4 years by. There's got to be a retro coming out. Now this is the year, so I'm like, I need 3 pairs. Like, these are going to be the new dailies. So that's mine.
That's awesome.
That's good.
How about you, Seth? One,
dude. For me, I feel like I get more excited about just the random releases from like ASICS, New Balance, Adidas that I don't know about already.
Right.
Because it's like the Jordan stuff. Yeah, I can get excited about it, but it's like, I've already seen it. Like the bread ones, like that was the most exciting release so far for me, because it was like, oh, this is new. This is different. This is like super exciting. The Joe Fresh goods I was really excited about, because
me too.
It's different. The new Sneaker Politics Kayanos. I'm like,
dude,
different.
I saw your post about that. You posted this. Was it a photo or a video this morning? Did you post something this morning about them?
Charley did.
Charley did.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. I love those. That was sick. My first Kayano too. So Seth got me in. Seth number 1 got me into those too.
ASICS needs to put you on the payroll, man. Like, you're bringing everyone in.
They send me some stuff every now and then. I can't lie. They're locked in. Mark's the man. But it's just the little stuff like that where you see it, and then like a week later, a month later, it's out. I don't know. It just, that excites me. So I'm eager to see, because obviously Jordan Brand is gearing up for a crazy year.
Yeah.
You would assume the other brands are sort of like, all right, now's the time.
we got to
really lock it down. So, we'll see. We'll see.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Are there any brands that you're excited to see new product from this year?
I'm really excited about everything Adidas is doing. Adidas has really stepped up. And I think that their stuff is, even their more retro stuff, like the Gazelles I'm into. I haven't tried, what's the running shoe everyone's talking about? The Evo L something?
Yeah.
Evo Pro SLs.
I really want to get a pair of those, try those out. I'm excited, like I said, about the Pharrells. Like, that's the first Pharrell shoe in probably 5 years that I've been stoked about. They're doing a lot of cool stuff. And I think same thing with like New Balance. I don't know. I think I'm most excited about Adidas and ASICS, to be honest with you. And I think ASICS is in a really interesting position, because I think that they need to keep innovating now, because if they don't, this is their time. Like, they've got to pump it out now, or else they're going to kind of be like, because Puma had that little shine of time for a little bit in like 2022. New Balance was really popular in 2023, and they're still popular now, but like, if they had just pushed a little bit harder, I think they could have been, you know what I mean? So I think I'm interested to see what ASICS does with their huge popularity right now. So
that makes sense. Yeah, as far as pushing innovation, like they're the ones coming out with new silhouettes. New Balance does 1 or 2 every year, and it's like, oh, they're cool. But for me, I typically just gravitate towards the 99X series. I'm like, I know it's quality. I know how to wear it. Like, I'm not taking a risk, I feel like, with that.
Exactly. And it's one of those shoes that you can like it just because it looks good. If you're not a sneakerhead, or if you're a sneakerhead, it's still got that if you know, sort of thing, which is cool. I like that a lot about New Balance. Like, they really are like a more undercover.
I get so many compliments.
That's awesome.
Any pair. It can be any of these random colorways.
Right.
You don't know anything about sneakers. It's like, that green, like, these look good. And I'm like,
that's awesome.
Just general release, man. Like,
that's sick.
It is what it is. But people love them. And same with ASICS, dude. I'll wear general release ASICS to the gas station, and 9 times out of 10, someone walking by is like, those are fire. I'm like, yeah, they are. You're not wrong. Like, it's just, I get more compliments on that than like the hype collab stuff, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Which ASICS is just huge in Atlanta right now. They're everywhere.
That's awesome.
Well, Adidas too is just pushing the needle a lot more so than other brands. I mean, with their basketball lines really leading the way, but like the Jellyfishes, just like collabs and stuff that they're doing. There's so many different facets that they're hitting. That's very interesting to follow. The running, the basketball, designer, the Edison Chen stuff. Like there's so many
about the AE2.
Yeah. Oh, how you feel about the AE2? I see all your AE1s in the background. You seem like the AE guy.
I got them all. I got some unreleased ones. I got signed ones. I got them all. We talked about it. The AE2, I'd got to see the full thing.
Yeah.
I mean, besides the little sneak peek photo, but yeah, the ones I came to a realization last night. I was wearing my pair of the USA is in our volleyball game, and the material on the rubber pairs with the rubber side panels way more comfortable than the metallics. Like it bends a lot better. So I don't know. I'm very curious to see the full thing of the A2s and then colorware to paint. I just wish we've talked about this with Beam Williams too, where it's like they like get Pharrell on one of these, or like get a collab, or get a Fear of God AE1. Like that would be so cool. Like
like those Bape Dames from, like, they still do Bape Dames, but like the ones from like the Dame 2s, the Dame 3s, like that was a big deal. And now it's like, okay, just another Bape Dame. But
the last one's kind of sad. It was just
were
they looked good. Like they didn't look bad, but it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
Exactly.
Were you big on the ones, the AE1s?
I really liked them a lot. I was kind of late to the game. I got what was the orange pair called? The Love, the whatever, with love.
Yeah, I think
the first pair. Yep.
Those were great. And then Adidas sent me the Stormtroopers, or the Addy, whatever they were
Best
called.
of Addy.
Best of Addy. Thank you.
Yeah.
They sent me those, and that's the first pair that I was like, yo, this is serious. And then I sort of went from there, but I never really I bought a couple colorways, but it wasn't anything crazy. There was some colorways that I missed out on that I kind of wish I had grabbed, but I think that, like I was saying earlier, I'm just like really trying to cycle through the rotation. And I think that if I had too many pairs of them, I just would only wear one. And then it's like not worth spending the money on the other ones that I wouldn't wear. Like that's one of the reasons why I didn't get, as much as I love the Fear of Gods that have been dropping, Adidas isn't sending me them. So like I'll buy them and then I'll wear them once and it's like, okay. And then I'll put out a video, and my videos, I mean, you guys' videos on them pop, but like mine, when I did a long form on it, didn't pop at all. So I'm like, it's not worth it for business. I probably wouldn't wear it as much as I like it. I just don't think it's worth spending the $250 on it. So that was sort of why I haven't. But I still really like what Jerry Lorenzo is doing, and I really wish the reception was better on the shoes, because I think what he's doing is cool.
Like the trainer he did, I think looks great. I don't even think you can see it all the way up.
I can't see it in there, but I've seen it in your videos. Yeah,
very, very clean look. But like you said, like the views aren't really there. They're like kind of in the middle. They sort of cap out around 200-ish, which is a lot. It's
totally.
But compared to like other product out there, it's like,
it's tougher everyday wear. That's the problem.
Yes.
But there is a cult following for it.
There is.
Every time I post one, like,
you've got the same people commenting.
Like, group people being like, yo, send me the close-up photos of the XYZ of this. I need to send it to the group. And I'm like, all right, awesome. I got a few people that I just supply with all the photos of the early ones, and it's funny. They get so excited about it.
That's awesome. I mean, he's a great designer. I really don't understand where the hype went between the Nike collab and the Adidas collab, but it is. I mean, maybe it's because Kanye was mad at him for whatever reason. I forget exactly why he was, but
yeah, there's no telling.
Like Kanye,
there's a whole thing. Kanye's mad at a lot of people. A lot of people are mad at Kanye. So.
Yeah, that's
good
true.
Reasons.
That's so. Bless his heart.
Well, there you go. Thank you so much for joining us, Seth.
Thank you for having me. This has been a blast.
Flip it on you. I think you flipped it on me too. Do you have any questions for us at all?
I would love to sit down with you guys and like really just talk about short form content, but I feel like that'd be a whole nother like couple hours. Because you guys are literally the kings of short form content, and it's something that I feel like I would love to learn, and it's something that I have experimented with a lot, but I've never really gotten to the point where I want to be. In terms of not even just views, but just like putting out content that I'm really proud of, and you guys are great at it. So I'd love to maybe one day, like maybe if you guys ever want to do a follow-up, just like really dive into it. Or maybe if you guys are ever in the same area, let's get dinner or something. I'd love to talk to you guys about that. But if you had one tip from both of you, what would you guys say for short form content? Like what's like without giving away too much, because I'm sure there's like proprietary stuff, but like what would you guys
give away the sauce?
Yeah, don't give away the sauce, but give me a little bit.
It's crazy to me that you're like even bringing this up, because I remember maybe I had been making videos before you short form, but I feel like you were doing it for a while. But I just remember seeing your first short form like few 10 videos, and I was like, oh man, it's over now. Like Seth's video, they were so good in my opinion.
What happened? They stopped being good. They're not the same.
And I don't know. It's all about, I mean, like you said, just searchability and making it easily digestible where you're not, because I overcomplicate a lot of the reviews to my own detriment. Like the easier you can make it, I forget, maybe it was like a Colin and Samir video where they had somebody on where they were like, if you speak at like a X grade level, like 5th grade, 4th grade, whatever it is level, if your script is, you know, easily understandable to a younger audience, it just does so much better. And maybe it's not a younger audience watching it, but even just your average Joe that maybe isn't super into sneakers, if you're reviewing a pair of On Clouds, talk to them like, not that they're a child, but it's like, you know, easily explainable where they can show their friend and be like, oh, these are great. These have blah, blah, blah. And, you know, maybe I want these. Or just creating content that's easily shareable. Because right now, like, shares are more important than likes, comments, whatever. Totally. And yet again, another thing that I really need to focus on, but it's just, you know, over time, honing in on that. Those are probably the 2 most important things. What about you, Charlie?
That's a good question. I think just consistency is always the one that I say is the big one, which is the one thing I've strayed from recently. I would say, honestly, like not getting the thing that I struggle with is there's so much content that other people are making, and then the comparison, and then the constant, because I'm always wanting to improve it. So it's like, how can I improve it? How can I get better? Right. And with that, like it's improved. Like you go watch my first video to now, it's like a crazy difference. But at some point, it's like there's too much thought on the improvement, not on the actual content. So my big advice would just be focus on the end user. If they're actually getting entertainment, if they're getting value out of it, like would you yourself watch it? That's something I always come back to when I get too deep into the weeds on new camera angle, new lens, should I cover this aspect of the shoe? How is my intro shot? Is it going to be a bunch of clips at the beginning? Is it going to be slow? Is it pacing? Like there's captions, like there's so many different things where it's like finding the thing that works, sticking with it, and then upping the content for the end user. So
makes sense.
I don't know. It's something I battle with all the time, but.
And starting a video without showing your face right away immediately gets so many more views because.
Really?
Oh, yeah, because
I didn't know that.
Anyone can be scrolling, and if you see a picture of a shoe, you're going to be like, oh, that's interesting. If you see a picture of my face, you're going to be like, who the f is this guy? Like,
basically.
Scroll.
Oh, no. Every one of my videos starts with my face.
I messed around with it.
A face that people like have seen and know in this.
Yeah.
No, I know, but like imagine the views I would get if I switched things up a little bit.
There was a while where I went just back and forth, sort of like A/B testing different stuff. And it was like, I realized the videos where I started with, you know, the just walking into frame or holding the shoe and then like a close up of the shoe, like 3 quick cuts. And then to me, I don't know if it just holds attention more or if it just, you know, you're immediately like, what is this? Oh, well, this guy's going to tell me what it is. So I guess I'll listen, turn the volume up a little bit, you know? So.
Wow. Well, how long do you usually, how many seconds do you usually have before you like show your actual face and start the talking?
I typically, well, the way I script mine, I just have like a base statement. So it'll be like, is this the most comfortable New Balance sneaker of all time? Some crap like that. Pretty much that whole thing is going to be taken up of B-roll. And then I'm going to dive straight into my face. Like today we're checking out the XYZ, blah, blah, blah. Give a little baseline introduction.
You're still talking underneath the intro clip.
The whole thing. Yeah.
Okay. You know what's tough about that too that I realized, Seth? Number one, that the thing that I've tried to get away from is that extra, I'm testing, is the extra 5 seconds at the beginning. And just getting right into it because people, if they are not interested in it, they're gone. Right. And there's every other person is doing like the hook, line, and sinker is like such a known method where it's like try to hook them, come up with a catchy thing, and do it, and then like exit or whatever. And like just like I watch Mr. Beast long form YouTube videos, and within 40 seconds, you already have a story, a plot. You know who the main character is. Like you're already into it. There's no like, hey, I'm Mr. Beast. Welcome back to our video. Today we're going to be doing this. Like, so that's something I'm testing is like just right into it, but it's like maybe I'm overthinking it. I don't know. It's the whole content game's wild.
Yeah, I mean, that's at the end of the day, there's no right way to do it. It's literally just
here's your advice. Yeah, do what you want to do.
Constantly evolve it. For the longest time, I did it one way. Now I'm doing it this way, and then I'm sure in a few months I'll do it another way. And it's just, you know, and maybe in a few months they won't be doing as well, and then I'll sort of go back to the old way and then tweak it from there. Like, there's no right way. I just try and do something slightly different every video, which I need to do more of because now I'm in this just sort of like, okay, I know how to do it. I got to get on to the next shoe. Here's how I script it. Here's how I shoot it. Boom, we're done. Ship it. It's out. So it's like you said earlier, it's just trying to find that time to be more creative and make it more exciting for you. If you're having fun with it, it's going to come off in the video and people are going to notice. So
that makes sense.
I don't know.
Awesome.
Short form.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll definitely do a part 2, and maybe at the end of the year we can do a recap of everything you've done with the business, and
that'd be awesome.
There's a lot more we could talk about. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
For sure.
This has been seriously a blast. I've really, really enjoyed this. Thank you, guys.
That'll do it. Thanks for listening.
Sweet. Peace.
Peace.